You think you know your family until they hand you a betrayal wrapped in a smile. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe. 3 months ago, I, Kristen Quinn, 24, threw myself head first into planning my younger sister Addison's Sweet 16. I envisioned the perfect night, a cozy private room in Columbia, Missouri, string lights reflected on the river outside, a live bands playing her favorite songs. I carefully glued together an album of childhood memories, us building snowmen, fighting over cookies, laughing in the backyard. Every detail mattered, down to the napkins folded like tiny stars. I spent hundreds of dollars from my own savings and countless late nights organizing, imagining her face lighting up with joy, feeling appreciated, feeling loved. But when that evening finally came, the room was empty. No sister, no parents, no explanation. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from Dad. His laugh was bright, carefree, sharp as a knife. "We're in Paris," he said. "We just wanted to keep you busy." I stood there, heart pounding, the weight of 3 months of effort crashing down. They turned my hard work into nothing, thinking I'd simply swallow it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I waited. A week later, my phone exploded. 36 missed calls in just 1 hour. Frantic voices begging for me to answer. I sent a single text back. "I'm very busy." They had no idea what I had planned, what I had sacrificed. And for once, that felt like power. It all began in a cramped cubicle at a local accounting firm. 8 hours a day, I shuffled spreadsheets, invoices, and budgets. Nights were no different, poring over family bills, Addison's school fees, stretching our meager earnings just to keep us afloat. My dream of becoming a photographer, capturing street seats, golden sunsets, quiet fields, sat untouched in a drawer. 3 months earlier, Addison had been hinting at a big birthday celebration, something memorable. I wanted her to feel special. I wanted to see me, the older sister who made things happen. The restaurant I booked was perfect. Soft string lights, warm wood tones, a view of the river that caught the sunset. I arranged for her favorite sliders, cupcakes with sprinkles, a local band for live music. Invitations were designed, menus finalized, decorations handpicked. Every detail screamed thoughtfulness. And the album, the gift I poured myself into, was my heart on paper. $500, countless late nights, memories etched into each page. This was my way of telling her, I see you. I love you. But my parents' voices were always hovering. "Make it perfect, Kristen. You're so good at this," Mom would say, sharp as ever. Dad texted reminders. "Don't forget, Addison deserves the best." Their words piled up, unspoken pressure pressing on me like an invisible hand. I didn't question it. I never did. Between conference calls and client spreadsheets, I would sneak in quick calls to the restaurant. "Make it quick," my boss snapped once. I rushed, trying to balance their expectations and mine. My camera sat in a drawer, a silent reminder of the life I'd put on hold. But family came first, always. At home, Mom and Dad critiqued every plan. "Addison loves pink, not purple," Mom said, flipping through my design layouts. Dad insisted, "Don't skimp on the food, she's counting on you." My budget stretched thinner and thinner, my nights grew longer, but I pushed on. By the final week, everything was ready. Restaurant booked, band confirmed, album completed. I sent the final plan to Mom and Dad, expecting a nod of approval. "Looks fine," Dad replied. Mom didn't respond at all. I brushed it off. I had no idea they were orchestrating something behind my back. The evening of the party, I arrived at 6, heart pounding with anticipation. The room was perfect. Music instruments glimmered under dimmed lights, tables were set, napkins folded, but the chairs, they were all empty. I checked my phone. Nothing from Addison, nothing from Mom or Dad. My stomach twisted. Maybe they were running late. Maybe traffic. I sent texts. No replies. The server approached, polite. Everything okay? Need more time? I nodded, forcing a smile. I'll check with the family. 3 calls later, I reached Dad. A faint buzz of French chatter in the background. Where are you? I asked, voice tight. We're in Paris, he said. Didn't we mention we just wanted to keep you busy? The words hit like a freight train. My breath caught. 3 months of planning, money, sleepless nights, all meaningless to them. I stared at the phone, numb. The band packed up quietly. The server avoided eye contact. I sank into a chair. The empty room reflected a hollow ache. I thought of every birthday, every chore, every dollar I'd put towards keeping the family afloat. And for the first time, I questioned it all. Was this what they really wanted from me? To serve, sacrifice, and be invisible? That night, my friend Tara texted, Kristen, you deserve more than this. There's a photography course in Portland next month. Go. Her words cut through the fog of betrayal. A spark ignited in me, one I hadn't felt in years. I pulled out my laptop, searching for the course. Street photography, portfolio building, gallery showcases, a world waiting for me, waiting to see what I could create. Portland wasn't just a city. It was a chance to breathe, to be myself, to pick up my camera again, to chase light instead of spreadsheets. I checked flights, apartments, job opportunities. It all felt real, possible, and terrifying. And for the first time in a long while, I felt alive. I drafted emails, notice to the landlord, resignation to my boss, no explanations, no apologies, just clear, deliberate steps toward a life of my own. I held my camera, its weight suddenly meaningful. I was done waiting for permission. The album I had made for Addison transformed that night. It became more than a gift. It became a farewell, a statement. I wrote a letter, tucked it inside. Addison, this album is for you. It's the last thing I'll do. I've paid for school, bills, everything. That ends now. I'm leaving for Portland to live my own life. Find yours. No accusations, no anger, just calm, firm closure. The next morning, I called Aunt Ellen. She had always seen me, offered me a place to stay in Portland. I can't wait to see your photos, she said. Her voice was steady, warm, a contrast to the chaos of my family. I packed light. Clothes, camera, a few books. Every folded shirt, every carefully placed item in the suitcase felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The weight of obligation lifted slightly with every step. 2 days later, my phone rang incessantly. 36 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Addison, panic and fury spilling from every voicemail. I ignored them. Their chaos was no longer mine to manage. I stepped outside into the cool evening air. For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. And in that quiet, I realized that choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. The next chapter was waiting. Portland, rain-soaked streets, coffee shops buzzing with conversation, galleries glowing with light. A camera in my hands, my story, my life, my turn to finally capture it all. But little did I know, the confrontation with my family, angry, desperate, and unrelenting, was only just beginning. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe. The morning after, Kristen woke to the quiet hum of her nearly empty apartment. The sunlight spilled across the floor, touching the scattered boxes, the neatly packed suitcase, and the camera case that now felt more like a companion than a tool. The weight of the previous weeks, the betrayals, the stress, the endless labor was gone, replaced with a tense, anticipatory calm. Her phone buzzed briefly on the counter. She glanced at it. No messages from her parents, no frantic texts from Addison, nothing. A part of her felt a flicker of worry. What if their anger hadn't cooled? But she brushed it aside. This was her life now, and she wasn't looking back. Kristen made a coffee, the aroma grounding her. Sitting at her small kitchen table, she opened her laptop to finalize a few details for Portland. Housing arrangements confirmed, flights booked, course enrollment complete. Everything felt real, like the first time you touched something you longed for without compromise. Her thoughts drifted to the empty restaurant, to the table she'd arranged with care, the album she had painstakingly made. She had left it on her kitchen counter for Addison, a silent testament to the months of love, effort, and ultimately betrayal. And yet, a strange relief washed over her. That album, those photos, were no longer a burden. They were hers. She could choose what they meant now. By mid-morning, a knock came at the door. Kristen's heart skipped, not with fear, but curiosity. She peeked through the peephole. It was Aunt Ellen, with a warm smile and a little package in her hands. "Thought you might need a little encouragement," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Inside, the small apartment smelled faintly of coffee and old books, a comforting scent that reminded Kristen of childhood visits to Ellen's house. The package contained a journal, pens, and a small digital camera. Ellen laughed softly when Kristen looked up at her with wide eyes. "You'll need backups. Portland is big, but your eye will find the stories." Kristen felt a swell of emotion, part gratitude, part awe at how different real support felt compared to the manipulation she just left behind. They sat at the kitchen table, talking about Portland, its rainy streets, its hidden cafes, the art scene that pulsed through the city like a heartbeat. Ellen didn't ask about her parents, didn't pressure her to justify her choices. She simply listened, laughed at Kristen's anecdotes about Addison and the empty restaurant, and reminded her that she had value beyond anyone else's expectations. Packing continued that afternoon. Clothes folded with precision, camera gear secured, memories carefully chosen. She paused over the album once more, staring at the photos of her and Addison as kids, the images of laughter and snowmen, of silly arguments and quiet afternoons made her chest tighten, not with grief, but recognition of her own resilience. She slid the album into the suitcase last, a reminder that while the past belonged to her, it didn't have to define her. As the plane ride approached, Kristen felt a mixture of nerves and anticipation. Flying west from Missouri to Oregon, the landscape below transformed from flat plains to the jagged silhouettes of mountains, then dense forests. Every mile she crossed felt like a mile further from the family who had taken advantage of her loyalty and closer to the life she had always wanted. When she landed in Portland, the air was crisp, the city alive with a quiet energy. Ellen greeted her at the baggage claim, her arms wide and steady. "Welcome home, Kristen," she said, pulling her into a hug. The warmth was unlike anything Kristen had felt in months or years. It wasn't tied to obligation, guilt, or expectation. It was simply love. Settling into Ellen's bungalow was seamless. The spare room, cozy and bright, became Kristen's sanctuary. Her camera, her tools, her thoughts, everything had a place. That night, she stayed awake sketching the streets she would explore, making mental maps of the markets, the murals, the bridges she would photograph. Portland felt alive, as if it had been waiting for her all along. The first day of her photography course arrived, and with it the thrill of purpose. Kristen stepped into a classroom filled with other students, some young, some older, all hungry to create, to see the world through a lens of discovery. The instructor, a wiry Nan with an infectious enthusiasm for light and perspective, welcomed her with an open nod. His advice was simple, yet powerful. Photography isn't just about seeing, it's about noticing what others miss. Kristen's first assignment was a cityscape at dawn. She wandered the streets before sunrise, the soft mist curling around lampposts, the river reflecting the earliest glimmers of light. Every click of the shutter felt like reclaiming a piece of herself that had been dormant for years. She was no longer the sister who sacrificed everything, the daughter who carried the weight of others' choices. She was Kristen. Weeks passed and her confidence grew. Coffee shops became makeshift studios, the streets an endless source of stories. She captured musicians, elderly couples holding hands, markets vibrant with life. Each photo was a small victory, a statement. I exist on my own terms. Back in Missouri, the consequences of her departure rippled fast. Her parents, desperate to reclaim control, attempted calls, texts, even visits. Kristen remained silent. Each effort only reminded her of how fragile their hold had been, how easily it had been broken once she chose herself. Addison faced the social fallout first. Her friends, once impressed by European vacations, began to question the truth behind the story. Social media accounts went quiet, whispers spread. Kristen heard about it secondhand from Ellen, but felt no satisfaction in the gossip. She had done what she needed for herself. Her parents, meanwhile, were left to navigate the isolation they had brought themselves upon. Extended family rallied quietly behind Kristen, acknowledging the truth. Community connections her parents had relied on, neighbors, clubs, social circles, suddenly felt distant. Kristen, meanwhile, built new connections in Portland. Each new friendship, each mentor, each student she photographed became a reinforcement of her worth. The culmination came one rainy afternoon in early spring. Kristen's portfolio was accepted for a local exhibit. Standing in the gallery, her photographs displayed on the walls, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Each image told a story she had chosen to capture, not one dictated by anyone else. She saw a crowd of admirers, art enthusiasts, fellow photographers moving from photo to photo, pausing, reflecting, and she realized this was the life she had been waiting for. Her phone buzzed briefly, an unknown number. She ignored it. Portland was her home now. Each click of her camera, each frame she captured, affirmed her decision. She wasn't running from her family, she was living for herself. The weight of obligation had been lifted, replaced with a purposeful heartbeat that echoed in every shutter sound. That night, alone in Ellen's spare room, Kristen reflected on the months that had led here. Betrayal was sharp and immediate, but it had forced her to confront a truth she'd long ignored. Self-worth isn't borrowed from those who take it for granted. It's claimed, nurtured, and defended. Portland was more than a city. It was a declaration of independence, a canvas for a life reclaimed. Kristen Quinn had walked away from the expectations, the manipulation, the lies. She had not only survived, she had chosen to thrive. And in the quiet, as rain tapped against the window, she lifted her camera one last time that night, framing the world not as it demanded she see it, but as she chose to capture it. Free, unburdened, and unapologetically herself.